Hi, I'm Dr. Cheryl Dunn, and I'm here to discuss what happens when you dispose of a fixed asset in terms of the accounting for it. And so the first thing you need to do when you're disposing of a fixed asset, whether you're selling it or whether it burned up in a fire, so you're recording it as an involuntary disposal or a loss, or you traded it for a different asset, whatever the case may be, or you might be just retiring it. And so the first step in any of those cases is to update the depreciation so that it is current, so that you've depreciated the asset through the date of disposal. You probably haven't taken a depreciation expense entry on the asset since the end of the prior accounting period. If you're not already at the end of an accounting period when you decide to dispose of the asset, you need to record additional depreciation from whenever the last time was that you recorded it through the disposal date. If it's already up to date because you're at the end of the period and you already did that adjusting entry, then you don't have to worry about that. But you have to make sure that it's done. Then you're going to calculate the book value of the asset, which is, of course, the cost minus the accumulated depreciation. And that's why you had to update the depreciation first before you do this step, so that it's that accumulated depreciation is the most accurate number. Then you're going to calculate any gain or loss on the disposal. And that will be calculated as the proceeds, if there were any, minus the book value. So for example, if you sold the asset for $10,000 and it had a book value of $8,000, then you had a $2,000 gain. If you sold the asset for $10,000 and the book value was $12,000, then you had a $2,000 loss. Okay, so these are just hypothetical scenarios. Then what you're going to do in terms of a journal entry is you're going to remove the asset from the books because we don't have it anymore. You're also going to remove the accumulated depreciation, which is a contra asset, from our books. We're also going to record the proceeds, if there were any, as whatever asset was traded for it or the cash that was received. And we also want to record any gain or loss on the disposal. So what this is going to look like in terms of journal entry then is we're going to credit the asset account. So let's say that this is equipment. So let's say we've got some equipment that we have depreciated. Let's say that our equipment cost $80,000 originally, and let's say that our accumulated depreciation after we have updated it to current is $68,000. Okay, then we would say that we have a book value of $12,000, and let's say that we sold it for, $15,000. Okay, if this was our example, then our depreciation was already up to date. We said the book value we just calculated here as $12,000. We would then calculate the gain or loss as the proceeds of $15,000 minus the $12,000 book value. That would give us a $3,000 gain. Okay? The journal entry we would make would be to receive cash of the proceeds of $15,000. So we would debit cash. We're going to credit the equipment for its cost value because the equipment currently has that original cost value as its debit balance. So to remove that debit balance, we want to credit it for $80,000. The accumulated depreciation, on the other hand, has a credit balance of this $68,000. To get rid of that balance, then we need to debit the accumulated depreciation account for that $68,000. And then we're going to record the gain. So removing the asset from the books, that's this part of the entry. Removing the accumulated depreciation is this part of the entry. Recording the proceeds is this part of the entry, the cash. And then recording the gain, in this case of $3,000, is this part of the entry. If we had a loss instead of a gain, we would end up debiting the loss because losses are like expenses, gains are like revenues. So to increase a gain, we credit it, just like we would increase a revenue with a credit. If it was a loss, we would debit the loss because that's how you increase losses, just the same as you do expenses. Okay, so this is how you handle the disposal of a fixed asset in terms of the accounting.